in the dark where secrets fall.
Welcome, weary travelers, to another night of chilling tales. Tonight, we venture far beyond the familiar, to a place where the veil between worlds is thin and the whispers of the dead echo in the darkness. Forget your cozy, modern comforts. We're heading deep into the rural heartland of Vietnam, to a place called the Phu Khanh Shrine. This isn't your typical tourist hotspot. This is a place of ancient power, a place where time seems to stand still, and where the spirits of the past refuse to stay silent. Our story tonight follows a group of friends, led by a young filmmaker named Nguyen, who sought out the Phu Khanh Shrine in search of a connection to the unseen world. What they found was far more terrifying than they could have ever imagined. They were a mixed bunch, a seasoned spiritual guide known only as Master, a quietly sensitive man named Khoi, a curious but fearful young woman named Nguyen, and a jokester, Lanan, whose laughter would soon be replaced by screams. They came seeking enlightenment, but they found themselves trapped in a nightmare, caught in a struggle between the living and the dead. Prepare yourself for a journey into the heart of spiritual darkness, a journey where ancient rituals clash with modern sensibilities, where the scent of incense mingles with the chilling odor of fear, and where the line between reality and nightmare blurs into nothingness. This is the story of the Phu Khanh Shrine, a place where the dead don't just whisper, they scream. Get comfortable, dim the lights, and let the fear embrace you. Because tonight, we're going to explore a place where sleep is the last thing you'll want to do. Be warned, this is not a bedtime story. This is a wake-up call to the horrors that lie just beyond the veil. This isn't just another ghost story. This is about a descent into the heart of spiritual darkness, a place where the line between the living and the dead blurs, and where ancient secrets refuse to stay buried. It all centers around the Phu Khanh Shrine, a forgotten relic tucked away in the rural heartland of Vietnam, a place far removed from the Instagram-worthy beaches and bustling cityscapes. Think less tourist destination and more lost world. Min, a young filmmaker obsessed with the paranormal, was the driving force behind this ill-fated trip. He wasn't alone. He'd assembled a crew of friends, each with their own quirks and sensitivities to the unseen. There was Master, their spiritual guide, a man whose calm demeanor and deep knowledge of the esoteric arts had earned him the respectful title. Khoi, a quiet, middle-aged man, possessed an uncanny ability to sense things others couldn't. Nguyen, a young woman with an unsettling mix of curiosity and fear, seemed to constantly scan the edges of reality. Lanan, the group's resident comedian, tried to keep things light, but even his jokes couldn't fully mask the growing unease. And a handful of others, each adding their own thread to the tapestry of impending dread. Their arrival at Phu Khanh was a journey in itself. Imagine a grueling sequence, a long international flight, followed by a bone-jarring bus ride down increasingly neglected roads, and finally, a bumpy trek along a dirt track that seemed to lead to nowhere. Exhaustion was their constant companion. But as they passed through the shrine's ancient gateway, a palpable shift occurred. The oppressive summer heat gave way to an unnatural chill, and the silence descended, thick and heavy like a velvet curtain dropping on the world. Towering trees, their branches gnarled and ancient, clawed at the sky, filtering the sunlight into an eerie, green-tinged twilight. The shrine itself was deceptively small, but its age was undeniable. Curved tile roofs, covered in a tapestry of moss and lichen, spoke of centuries past. Intricate carvings, worn smooth by time and weather, hinted at forgotten rituals and long-dead deities. Inside, the air hung heavy with the scent of incense, mingled with the musty odor of aged wood and damp earth, the unmistakable perfume of a place where the spiritual realm held sway. It was the kind of smell that raised the hairs on your arms, a primal warning signal. The daytime rituals were a sensory overload. Chanting voices, the rhythmic clang of gongs, the mesmerizing sway of bodies moving in unison. It was a powerful, almost hypnotic experience. It felt less like observing a foreign culture and more like being immersed in a raw, elemental force. Min, in particular, felt a connection, a sense of tapping into something ancient and profound, an energy that thrummed beneath the surface of reality. The shared meal that evening was a brief respite. Simple fare, rice, vegetables, and unfamiliar local dishes, but it provided a sense of normalcy, a grounding ritual before the night's true events began. They sat together, sharing stories, their voices hushed in the growing darkness. It was a moment of bonding, a strengthening of ties before the descent into the unknown. As twilight deepened into full night, the temperature plummeted. Despite the lingering summer heat, a bone-chilling cold settled over the shrine. To combat the chill and the creeping dread, they did what people have done for centuries. They told ghost stories. But here, in this place saturated with spiritual energy, the stories felt different, more potent, more real. Min, fueled by his passion for his latest project, a horror film titled The Blind Sorcerer, took the lead. He described a particularly unnerving incident during filming. They'd chosen a crossroads at night, a location traditionally believed to be a nexus point between worlds, a place where the veil was thin. Think of it as a cosmic weak spot. While filming, a dark, inexplicable shadow had passed directly in front of the camera, obscuring the actors. Initially dismissed as a technical glitch, closer inspection revealed something far more disturbing. It wasn't just a shadow. It had a fleeting, almost sentient shape, as if some unseen entity had deliberately announced its presence. But the truly bizarre part came later. Min, drawn back to the crossroads alone, witnessed something that defied rational explanation. Beyond the dense trees, he saw a cluster of primitive huts, like something ripped from a forgotten age. Figures moved within them, clad in rough, animal skin clothing, men, women, and children engaged in the mundane activities of life. It was as if he were peering through a window into a parallel reality, a world that shouldn't exist, yet undeniably did. The sheer wrongness of it, the sense of violating some fundamental law of the universe, was overwhelming. A friend, sensing Min's distress, urged him to seek refuge in a nearby temple, a testament to the palpable sense of unease that emanated from the scene. Min continued, recounting his experiences at the Scrapyard Cafe, a former business venture housed in an old, unsettling building. He described the frequent, unnerving sound of footsteps pounding on the upper floor, even when no one was there. It wasn't just the creaking of old wood. It was the distinct, purposeful sound of running, echoing through the empty space. He spoke of a door slamming open with impossible force, as if propelled by an unseen hand. And then there was the chilling account of an employee who, late one night, encountered a young girl in a white dress standing silently in the kitchen, only to vanish moments later. These weren't just stories, they were glimpses into a world that existed just beyond the periphery of normal perception, a world that men seemed to have a disturbing connection to. The atmosphere in the shrine, already tense, thickened with each recounted tale. Then Master, the group's spiritual anchor, spoke. His voice, deep and resonant, cut through the unease. If you truly seek an encounter with the spiritual world, he said, I can guide you to the nearby cemetery. We can attempt to communicate with the spirits that reside there. The suggestion was met with a mixture of terror and morbid fascination. The cemetery, at night, under the guidance of a spiritual master. It was the stuff of nightmares, yet undeniably compelling. The idea wasn't just spooky. It felt profoundly dangerous, a deliberate invitation to the unknown. As the night wore on, the cold intensified. A light rain began to fall, the drops drumming a melancholic rhythm on the tiled roof. Fear, cold and primal, gripped the group. It wasn't just the external chill. It was a deeper, more insidious cold, emanating from the very core of their being. The cold of dread, of facing the unimaginable. Ultimately, the heavy rain and the escalating anxiety led them to abandon the cemetery plan. They cleaned up, preparing to retreat to the relative safety of their hotel. Before they left, Master distributed beaded necklaces, each carved with intricate, unfamiliar symbols. He claimed they offered protection from harm. The necklaces felt strangely warm to the touch, a small comfort in the face of the growing darkness. As they were selecting their necklaces, Koi, the quiet, middle-aged man, began to exhibit strange behavior. His breathing became labored, escalating into a loud, guttural snore, yet he remained fully conscious. His face was flushed, his eyes rolled back in his head. It was clear something was terribly wrong. Master, recognizing the signs of possession, rushed to Koi's side. Koi, unable to speak, gestured frantically at his throat, as if something invisible were choking him. Master acted swiftly. He produced a special necklace, one that shimmered with a golden light, and placed it around Koi's neck. Koi shuddered violently, his body convulsing. Men, observing from a nearby seat, felt a sudden, icy draft. He glimpsed a faint, bluish figure, resembling a child, hovering nearby. The vision was fleeting, gone almost as quickly as it appeared, but it left a lingering chill, a sense of profound sadness. After a moment of struggle, Koi seemed to expel the unseen force. He gasped, his body trembling with exhaustion, but the relief was palpable. The immediate crisis had passed, but the question remained. Why Koi? Men, still shaken by his fleeting vision, wondered if the childlike spirit he'd seen was responsible. Master, determined to uncover the truth, decided to summon the spirit again. He instructed Koi to sit before the altar and began to chant, his voice filling the shrine with a low, rhythmic hum. The tension in the room was almost unbearable. It felt as if the very air were vibrating with unseen energy. Master's chants intensified, calling the spirit back. But nothing happened. He realized that they were still wearing the protective necklaces. He explained that the necklaces, blessed with protective energy, were preventing the spirits from approaching. They removed the necklaces, and instantly, Koi was possessed again. This time, the possessing spirit seemed to be bowing repeatedly. Koi's head slammed against the floor with sickening force. Lenan, ever the pragmatist, reacted quickly, shoving a cushion under Koi's head to prevent injury. It was a small act of practicality in the midst of utter chaos. Master, his voice calm and authoritative, questioned the spirit. Who was it? Why had it chosen Koi? The spirit replied in a high-pitched, distorted voice, claiming to have no memory of its name, only that it had drowned in the nearby river. It harbored no ill will towards Koi, merely seeking a vessel to communicate with the living. The voice was a chilling blend of desperation and childlike innocence. Master decided to name the spirit Tran Vodan, Tran without name. He offered the spirit food and drink, but it refused. Then Master performed a ritual to help Tran Vodan find peace. He chanted, his voice rising and falling in a hypnotic rhythm, and slowly, Koi returned to normal. The relief was immense but fragile. The respite was short-lived. Almost immediately after Tran Vodan departed, another spirit seized control of Koi. Panic began to set in. Then Nguyen, the young woman, screamed. She claimed to see a multitude of spirits gathered outside the shrine gate, their faces contorted in expressions of rage and resentment. She described them in horrifying detail. Hollow eyes, gaping mouths, skin stretched taut over bone. They were not vague shapes, they were terrifyingly real. Master declared that they were trapped. They had to remain inside the shrine, protected by its sacred boundaries. He sprinkled salt around the perimeter, creating a symbolic barrier against the encroaching darkness. Salt in folklore was a powerful deterrent against evil. It was a tangible act of defense in a battle against the intangible. Meanwhile, Koi, still possessed, rose to his feet. He walked into the main hall, retrieved a long dao, a formidable weapon resembling a large, curved blade mounted on a long pole, and slammed it into the ground, declaring that it would subdue the demons. He then assumed a martial arts stance, his arms raised in a defensive posture, and lost consciousness. The image was striking, a possessed man, wielding an ancient weapon, locked in a silent battle with unseen forces. The scene nearly mirrored a sequence in Min's film, The Blind Sorcerer, where the protagonist also adopted a martial arts stance to summon a deity. Master explained that the shrine was now swarming with spirits, many of whom refused to leave. They were drawn to the group, to their vulnerability like moths to a flame, eager to cross the threshold into the world of the living. Together, they prepared an offering for the restless spirits, a collection of sweets, salt, rice, and paper clothes. It was a gesture of appeasement, an acknowledgement of their presence and their suffering. Min, sitting in the center of the shrine courtyard, recited a vante, a traditional prayer poem for spirits, his voice echoing in the cold, rainy night. The sound of the rain, the wind sighing through the ancient trees, and his chanting blended together, creating a haunting, mournful melody. It was a lament, a plea for peace in a world teeming with unseen turmoil. After the prayer, a sense of calm, however tentative, descended upon the group. Master explained that his initial invitation to communicate with the spirits had acted as a beacon, drawing them to the shrine. But because they had not performed the intended ritual, The spirits had remained outside, waiting for an opportunity. One spirit in particular had been following Koi since the morning, seizing the chance to possess him when his guard was down. It had hidden in Koi's shadow, exploiting his sensitivity to the spiritual realm to infiltrate the shrine. It was a chilling reminder that the unseen world was always present, always watching, always waiting for a crack in the armor of reality. The next morning, they sought answers from the local community. They learned the tragic tale of a child who had drowned in the nearby river many years ago, a young life cut short, leaving behind a restless spirit. The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, revealing a narrative of loss and lingering sorrow that had predated their arrival, a story that had become intertwined with their own in a night of fear and revelation. The Phu Khanh Shrine was more than just an ancient building. It was a crossroads, a place where the veil between worlds was thin, where the echoes of the past resonated with terrifying clarity. And they had stumbled blindly into its heart. The video would end with Min staring directly at the camera and a warning: some doors are best left unopened. Some secrets are best left undisturbed. And so, the tale of the Phu Khanh Shrine comes to a close. A chilling reminder that some places hold echoes of the past that are best left undisturbed. Nguyen and his friends sought out the spiritual world, and they found it in all its terrifying glory. They learned in the most brutal way possible that some doors are meant to remain closed, some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. The events at the shrine, the possessions, the sightings, the sheer, unadulterated terror serve as a potent warning. The unseen world is not a playground for the curious. It's a realm of immense power, of ancient forces, and of restless spirits. It's a place where the rules of our reality don't always apply, and where the consequences of our actions can be far-reaching and devastating. What became of Nguyen and his friends after that night? Did they ever truly escape the shadow of Phu Khanh? Did the protective necklaces they were given truly shield them from harm? Or did the spirits of the shrine follow them home, lingering just beyond the edge of perception? These are questions we may never have answers to. But one thing is certain: the Phu Khanh Shrine remains a silent sentinel in the Vietnamese countryside, a place where the veil is thin, and where the dead continue to whisper their secrets to those who dare to listen. If you ever find yourself drawn to such a place, remember the story of Nguyen and his friends. Remember the terror they faced, the lessons they learned, and perhaps, just perhaps, you'll choose to turn back, to leave the secrets of the dead undisturbed. Thank you for joining me on this journey into darkness. Sleep well, if you can. And remember, the next time you hear a strange noise in the night or feel a sudden chill in the air, it might be more than just your imagination. It might be a whisper from the other side. Until next time, stay safe and try to stay out of the shadows, because you never know what might be lurking there, waiting for you.
Is it the wind?